Season 4 ended with tension so thick it felt like the entire world around Madame was about to collapse. The power she worked so hard to protect no longer feels safe, and the people closest to her are no longer predictable. Every move she made to stay in control created another crack in her foundation. And by the end of the season, it became clear that her biggest threat may not be her enemies on the outside, but the ones standing right beside her. Madame has always ruled through fear, strategy, and control. She built her empire by knowing everyone's weakness and using it before they could use hers. But Season 4 showed something new: hesitation. For the first time, she was forced to react instead of lead. Betrayals came from places she never expected, and loyalty became something she could no longer buy or command. The world around her shifted, and the rules she once controlled no longer applied. The tension inside the club reached a breaking point. Every character carried secrets, and those secrets began to collide. Old alliances started to feel unstable, and quiet resentment grew louder with every episode. The people who once feared Madame started questioning her strength. Power, once absolute, became fragile. This shift set the stage for a much darker and more dangerous future. Season 4 didn't just end a chapter, it exposed the cost of ruling through fear. Madame's decisions created enemies that don't need weapons to destroy her. All they need is patience. As trust faded, paranoia took its place. Every conversation felt loaded. Every silence felt like a warning. The empire still stood, but it was built on fear, not loyalty, and that kind of power never lasts. By the final moments of the season, the message was clear: the game has changed. Madame is no longer the only player moving pieces on the board. Others are learning the rules, learning her weaknesses, and preparing to strike. Season 5 doesn't begin with peace, it begins with pressure. The kind that breaks even the strongest rulers, and that's what makes the next chapter so dangerous. Because when a queen starts to lose control, she doesn't step back. She strikes harder than ever. Season 5 is shaping up to be a full war for control, and nothing about it feels calm or predictable. After everything that happened before, the balance of power is no longer clear. Madame is still standing, but the foundation under her empire is shaking. The people around her are no longer just followers. They are thinkers, planners, and survivors. Everyone has learned from her moves, and now they are ready to use those lessons for themselves. The biggest change going into this season is that fear no longer controls the room the way it used to. In the past, Madame's name alone was enough to silence doubt. Now, people are watching her more closely than ever. Every decision she makes is questioned. Every order she gives feels heavier because one wrong move could turn her allies into enemies. Power is no longer something she owns alone. It is something everyone wants a piece of. Season 5 is expected to focus heavily on this internal war. The threats are no longer just coming from outside rivals or business competitors. The danger is growing inside her own circle. Loyalty has become unstable and trust feels temporary. Characters who once followed her without question are now thinking for themselves. Some are tired of living in fear. Others believe they could run things better if given the chance. That quiet ambition is far more dangerous than open rebellion. As the power struggle grows, the emotional tension deepens. Relationships that once felt strong begin to crack. Old alliances are tested and new ones form in secret. Every conversation carries double meaning. Every smile hides a motive. People are no longer saying what they truly feel, and that silence becomes the most dangerous weapon of all. This season is not about loud confrontations alone. It is about slow betrayal and careful planning. Madame's biggest challenge in Season 5 is not her enemies, it is her isolation. The more she tightens her grip, the more alone she becomes. Trusting the wrong person could end everything she built. Yet trusting no one at all might destroy her just as fast. This emotional conflict adds a deeper layer to her character. She is no longer just a powerful woman at the top. She is a ruler surrounded by uncertainty. At the same time, new faces are expected to enter the story, bringing fresh energy and new danger. These characters won't be impressed by past reputations. They will test boundaries and push limits. Some will see opportunity in the chaos, while others will look for revenge. Their arrival will force old characters to choose sides, and those choices will shape the future of the empire. Season 5 is not about rebuilding what was lost. It is about deciding what deserves to survive. Power will change hands. Secrets will be exposed, and the cost of staying on top will be higher than ever before. In this chapter, control is no longer guaranteed, it must be fought for, protected, and sometimes sacrificed. Season 5 pushes every major character into a moment of truth where hiding behind loyalty or fear is no longer possible. The people surrounding Madame are no longer just background players in her empire. Each of them now stands at a turning point, forced to choose who they really are and what they are willing to risk. This season shifts the focus from power itself to the people shaped by it, revealing how ambition can twist even the strongest bonds. Madam's journey becomes far more personal this time. She is no longer just fighting external enemies or business rivals. She is facing the consequences of years of manipulation, control, and emotional distance. The people closest to her have begun to see her not as an untouchable queen, but as a woman capable of fear, mistakes, and vulnerability. That realization changes everything. Her strength is no longer unquestioned and her authority no longer absolute. Season 5 explores what happens when someone who built an empire on dominance starts to feel the weight of isolation pressing in from all sides. At the same time, the characters around her begin to evolve in unexpected ways. Some who once played small roles begin to step into the spotlight, driven by ambition or resentment that has been growing quietly for years. Others struggle with guilt over the choices they've made to survive under Madam's rule. These internal battles create emotional tension that runs deeper than any physical conflict. Loyalties begin to blur, and the line between right and wrong becomes harder to see. One of the most powerful elements of the season is how it explores trust. Trust between friends, between partners, and even within oneself. Characters who once believed they knew exactly where they stood are forced to question everything. Secrets surface at the worst possible moments, changing relationships forever. Some characters will try to make things right, while others will embrace their darker side, believing that survival means becoming someone new. The emotional weight of Season 5 also comes from the cost of power. Every decision has consequences, and no one escapes unmarked. The show leans deeper into the idea that strength is not just about control, but about what you are willing to lose. As alliances break and reform, the audience is pulled into a constant state of tension, never knowing who will stand together and who will fall apart. This season is not about simple victories. It's about transformation. Characters evolve in painful, unexpected ways, shaped by betrayal, fear, and desire. Some will rise stronger than ever, while others will fall under the pressure of their own choices. The emotional stakes are higher, the risks are greater, and the future is more uncertain than ever before. By the time the story moves forward, it becomes clear that Season 5 is not just another chapter, it's a turning point. The people who survive it will not be the same. Power will change hands, relationships will be tested beyond repair, and the world of all the Queen's men will never return to what it once was. Season 5 moves the story into a phase where nothing feels predictable anymore. The structure of power that once defined every decision begins to break apart, creating space for chaos, ambition, and unexpected alliances. What makes this chapter different from everything before it is the sense that no one is truly safe, not emotionally, not strategically, and not morally. The world around these characters no longer offers clear paths or easy victories. Every choice carries a cost, and every decision leaves a mark that cannot be undone. As the story unfolds, the pressure on each character intensifies. Past actions return with consequences that can no longer be ignored. Secrets buried for years rise to the surface, forcing confrontations that have been avoided for far too long. The power structure that once felt solid now shifts constantly, making it impossible to know who truly holds control. This instability becomes the driving force of the season, pushing everyone to act out of fear, desperation, or ambition. What makes this chapter especially powerful is the emotional weight behind every move. Characters are no longer fighting just for power or survival, they are fighting for identity. Many of them are forced to confront who they have become and whether the cost of their success was ever worth it. Some try to hold on to their humanity while others fully embrace the darkness they once feared. This internal conflict becomes just as dangerous as any external threat. Relationships continue to evolve in unexpected ways. Bonds that once felt unbreakable begin to fracture under pressure. Trust becomes rare and loyalty turns into a fragile currency. Even long-standing partnerships are tested, as characters question whether standing together is still possible. The emotional distance between allies grows wider, making betrayal feel not just possible, but inevitable. At the same time, new dynamics begin to form. Characters who once operated in the shadows step into the spotlight, bringing fresh energy and unpredictable motives. These new forces do not play by old rules, and their presence disrupts every existing plan. Their arrival forces established characters to adapt or be left behind. Nothing remains comfortable or familiar for long. Season 5 also leans heavily into the emotional consequences of leadership. Power is no longer glamorous or rewarding. It is heavy, isolating, and dangerous. The characters who once chased control now struggle with the burden it brings. Every decision weighs heavily, and the cost of failure feels higher than ever before. The story makes it clear that ruling from the top comes with sacrifices that cannot be undone. As the season moves forward, tension builds steadily toward a breaking point. Every episode pushes characters closer to irreversible choices. The world they've built is fragile, and one wrong move could bring everything crashing down. By the time the story reaches its later moments, it becomes clear that survival will demand more than strength. It will require sacrifice, strategy, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. This chapter of the story doesn't just expand the universe of all the Queen's men, it deepens it. The focus shifts from external power struggles to the emotional and psychological cost of ambition. What emerges is a darker, more intense narrative where victory comes at a personal price, and no one walks away unchanged. Season 5 ultimately becomes a turning point where everything built over the years finally collides. By this stage of the story, the lines between power, loyalty, and survival completely blur. What once felt like a carefully controlled empire now feels like a fragile structure, held together by fear, silence, and unfinished business. Every character is forced to face the consequences of choices they tried to avoid, and there is no space left for denial or escape. As the season moves forward, the emotional weight intensifies. Characters who once thrived in control begin to crack under pressure. The masks they've worn for so long start to fall away, revealing fear, regret, and desperation beneath the surface. Some attempt to rewrite their past actions, while others double down on the darkness that brought them power in the first place. These personal battles are not quiet or subtle, they explode into moments that permanently change relationships and alliances. One of the most striking elements of this chapter is how loyalty transforms. Loyalty is no longer about obedience or fear. It becomes about survival and self-preservation. People choose sides not because they believe in someone, but because they believe in what will keep them alive the longest. Old bonds fracture under pressure, and unexpected alliances form between characters who once stood on opposite sides. These uneasy partnerships create tension that hangs over every scene. The emotional cost of leadership becomes impossible to ignore. Those at the top begin to understand that power does not protect, it isolates. Decisions made in silence now echo loudly, affecting everyone connected to the empire. Guilt, regret, and fear begin to shape every move. Even moments of victory feel hollow because each win comes with a sacrifice that cannot be undone. The higher the climb, the harder the fall feels. As the season moves toward its final stretch, the story leans heavily into consequence. Every secret exposed, every betrayal revealed, pushes the narrative closer to a breaking point. Characters are forced to confront the truth about who they are and what they have become. Some find clarity in the chaos, while others are consumed by it. The emotional stakes reach their peak as survival becomes the only goal that matters. By the end of this chapter, the world of all the Queen's men feels transformed. The power structure that once seemed unshakable is now cracked beyond repair. Nothing feels stable and no one is truly safe. The story no longer revolves around who controls the throne, but who is willing to lose everything to keep it. This shift sets the stage for a future where the rules have changed forever, and the cost of power is higher than it has ever been before.